Wrapping up another playthrough of Jack 2 Studios' Night of the Dead, I remembered seeing an interview the devs did for Unreal where they gave us a peek behind the curtains. I'll link that in the description. One of my favorite questions answered was about the motivation to combine genres, and Mingya answered that, in addition to the movie I Am Legend, he was inspired by the games The Forest and They Are Billions. For anyone unfamiliar, The Forest is a creepy first-person survival game where you're trapped on an island filled with hungry, half-naked people and their weird pets. They Are Billions is a real-time strategy game where you build up a colony to survive and push back against the zombie apocalypse. Now, I love stories about how some games can inspire others, so I wanted to take a closer look at one of the games that inspired Night of the Dead, coming from a very different perspective on the zombie survival genre. They Are Billions comes from the developer Numantian Games, originally releasing without its campaign and just the survival game mode. In survival mode, the map is randomly generated from a list of difficulty options that change how brutal the hordes can be. And that was enough to get the game a lot of attention in the PC strategy game space, making it easier for the team to get the support they needed to update the game with a campaign.
We will never know what happened. It was more than 2 centuries ago when those humans sowed the seeds of their own destruction and left us with a legacy of terror. For all of them are now the monsters of our nightmares. How ironic that they ended up like this. I am Quintus Crane, your leader, your savior. I founded the new empire and the city that now shelters you. And now, the time has come to no longer live hidden like rats behind the walls of the Great Crater. It's time to face our monsters. Time to go out into the world and reconquer it for the glory of humankind, for the glory of the new Empire!
And I would say survival mode is still where most of the game's community lives, especially since it features an impressive library of Steam Workshop custom maps. But the campaign was a worthy addition that offered a more guided experience through the game's punishing setting, even if the story itself came across as more of a fun extra rather than the key to making sense of the setting. You know, like knowing why you're pushing across an infested continent doesn't change how brutal but satisfying growing each colony is, but the extra flavor is there, and I appreciate it. I'm also a sucker for steampunk settings, and combining that with zombie survival was definitely ticking off some big boxes for me. Now, as a warning, the game doesn't let you just save whenever you want to create a place to retry things. You save to exit. So when you're late into a run and you realize you messed up like 30 minutes ago managing resources or developing your defenses, it can quickly turn into a hard lesson learned for next time. I actually grabbed this game before the campaign update years ago, but I never beat the campaign. Not because it was too hard, but because the frustration of each loss, sometimes after over an hour into a map, just got to me. It wore me down. I honestly haven't picked the game back up in years, but I always wanted to. Why not now? I'm not going to promise like a long series, but I will be getting back into They Are Billions to try and finally beat the campaign. But before I get that journey started, let's get a little taste of what this game's about, both to freshen myself up and for anyone who isn't familiar, to see if maybe this is something up your alley. Before we get started, I would like to manage some expectations. First, I haven't been into RTS games for a long time, like over a decade. My primary experience was in the Warhammer 40k games, so I've got a steep learning curve to climb. Second, I'm kinda dumb, as in, I'm slow to learn from my mistakes, and you'll see me making what will become signature errors. If you're tuning in to see how a pro plays this game, you're definitely in the wrong place. But they are out there, and making content, so show them some love too. I just want to share an amazing game that helped inspire another great game I've come to love. Let's get ourselves into some trouble.